Hi, I'm Chef Alan Tetreault with Global Sugar Art, and in the last video I showed you how to make beautiful Easter lilies, or a traditional longiflorum lily. And in this video I want to show you the basics of how this cake and these cupcakes were made. We chose to do the lilies on a sort of religious theme, and the patchwork cutter, which I have the pieces out here, is a perfect set to make beautiful cakes and borders with a religious theme. So I'm going to show you how to make this cross first. I'm going to be using Mexican paste. Now I already have a YouTube video out on how to make Mexican paste. We have a mix at Global Sugar Art, or you can buy the gum tragacanth and you can make your own homemade recipe at home. But using Mexican paste is very important when you're using the patchwork cutters. So I've rolled out a piece to about a number 4 on the pasta machine, which is fairly thick, and I've left it thick because I'm going to roll it out some more. I'm going to take a little bit of white shortening, or some sort of a white vegetable fat, and I'm going to rub it over the board. The reason I'm doing that is I want this paste to stick to the board. And now I'm going to roll this out a little bit more. That's why I rolled it a little bit thick on the pasta machine, because I knew that I wanted it a little bit thinner when I put it on here. So this is now adhered to the board. This is very different than making flowers, where I'm always saying make sure that it's loose on the board. In this case I want it stuck to the board. I'm going to take a little bit of shortening, and I'm just going to grease these parts. So I'm going to cut the cross out first. Press all around the edge. This is a very basic piece, so this is not hard to do. And then just pop that out. And then you can just lift this right off from around the edge. Now, I'm going to leave that right in place while I finish this. I'm going to take the long strip, just lightly grease it, and put that on the bottom part. Now you don't want to press too hard this time, or you'll cut through right where it meets. So I'm just going to lightly press all around the edge. I just want a light embossing in there. And then I'm going to pop that out, and you'll see that that's embossed. Now I can see down here it didn't emboss as much as I want. The nice thing about patchwork cutters is you can feel the minute that falls right back into place. You can line it up again, and I'm going to lightly push on the bottom and then lift that up, and now I have a perfect embossing. For the 3 sides here, the other 3 pieces, I'm going to use this little lily, and I'm going to put that right at the top and push down a little bit. It's really important that you put a little bit of shortening on there so that that pops right back out. And don't press too deep so that it goes all the way through. And that's your 3 top pieces. And now the little wheel goes in the center. That goes right in the middle, and just push that down. There. And now I have the cross all done. And I have one done there. Now take a spatula and just gently go under here to loosen it from the board. The nice part about Mexican paste is it will hold its shape quite well. If this were gum paste, it would stretch all out of shape. But Mexican paste allows me to lift this up and move it, and then I can just put it right back into a nice shape, and then I can let that dry. We're going to finish this one while this one dries. Before I finish that, I'm going to show you how to make the little accent pieces. So again, I've got my paste. I'm going to put a little bit of shortening on the board. These I want to be a little bit thinner than the cross. It's stuck to the board. This is the little accent piece. going to put a little bit of shortening on there. Now this time you want to press all the way down because you're actually cutting out the pieces. So you can press right down and pop those out. And just the idea of greasing the board is I want them to stay on that board. I don't want them to pop out in the cutter when I take them out. And you'll see why in a second when I go to remove these. So I would do enough to go all around my cake. I have 4 on the ends of the cross as well. And I've actually used them on the cupcakes too. So I probably made about 50 or 60 of these. After you've cut out the number of pieces that you require, all you have to do is lift up your paste and see how they'll stay right down there on the board. That's why you grease the board. You want them to stay right there. And the outside pieces come right off. From there, we're going to finish those. I'm going to put a little paper towel down. Use a spatula to get under these. Now, Mexican paste does dry rather quickly. So if you're not going to use these right away, make sure that you put them under some sort of a plastic flap. The other pieces that you need are the little leaves right here. So I would cut 4 of those the same way. And I didn't grease this time, and it stuck to it. A teachable moment. All right, there we go. And the same thing, I would just lift these up and those pieces will come right off. Okay, now to finish those pieces, I'm going to start with a little bit of super pearl. Just on these rounded pieces, just on the ends, because we're going to put a gold highlighter in the middle. Whether you pearlize them or not is your own decision. I think it actually makes the pattern pop out. Okay. And to do the gold, I'm using old gold hybrid luster dust. And I'm going to put a little bit in the cap. And I'm going to add a little bit of alcohol. You can use vodka or gin or an Everclear. And I can't get the top off. No strength. It's Monday morning. And mix a little bit of alcohol. And then I'm just going to paint the insides. If it's not dark enough, you can always go back and repaint it after they've dried a minute. So this is not gold highlighter. I realized I used that word a second ago. Highlighter is not a consumable product, but the hybrid luster dusts are US certified colors, so there's no problem in using these on a cake. So I would do enough to go around my border. And I'm also going to do these little leaves as well. I need a little more dust in there. Here we go. Okay, I have finished painting the center part of these little decorations, and I've also painted 4 of them completely gold for the cross, and the 4 little leaves are completely gold for the cross too. And while I've got my gold, I'm going to paint the center, the little circle in the center. There we go. I want to get that outside edge. There, that's done. And I'm going to use a little bit of the super pearl dust on the remainder of the cross to really bring out that lily pattern, the embossing that we did. Okay, to finish the cross, I've pearlized it and I've put gold in the center. Now I would just lay this on the cake wherever I want. I can put a little bit of water to make it adhere to the cake if you want. And then you're just going to place these solid gold pieces around the edge. They'll fit nicely. And again, if you want to adhere those to the cake with a little water, you can. You can also use this on a buttercream cake too. This does not have to be done on a fondant cake. And then your 4 little leaves go right in the center like this. Marion Frost, the developer of Patchwork Cutters, has some of the most beautiful and detailed and intricate cutters that I've ever seen. They're absolutely beautiful, and she really puts a lot of thought in a set on not only making one item, but how you can use those pieces then to decorate the rest of the cake. And that's what we've done. This is now the finished cross as it would appear exactly on the cake. But these outside little pieces are what we used to create the border on the bottom. And I'd like to show you how that's done now. Okay, I'm going to start with a piece of rolled out gum paste. Now again, this is gum paste now, or you can use a gum paste fondant mixture. And you'll want to use a straight edge to create a straight edge. I'm just going to cut that like that. And then I'm using one of the FMM, this is from one of their FMM frill sets. And this is just a scallop design. And what I want to do is I want to place that so that I'm about, maybe about 1/4 inch from the edge. And I'm just going to press that down, and that's going to cut a strip for me. It's going to cut a scallop strip. Now obviously I could make this as long as I want so that it can go around the edge, or you can do it in pieces and just match it up. Once this is cut, you just lay that on the side of the cake and adhere it to the side of the cake with a water brush. After that, you take each of these little pieces that you made ahead of time and you put a little water on the back of them and you just set them on the border. And that's all it took to produce that beautiful border around the outside using the very same cutters that you used to make the cross. Again, all you need is a little bit of water. You don't even need to use gum glue. The dried pieces of the Mexican paste will stick right to the gum paste with no problem at all. So that's the cross and the border. The last thing I'd like to show you is the cupcakes, and I'll be right back to show you how to do that. To finish our project, we're going to do the cupcakes. They're very easy. I just baked a regular cupcake in a white liner, and I've iced it with a little bit of buttercream icing. And I'm going to take some pale green fondant, put a little bit of cornstarch down, and I'm going to roll this fairly thin. Not as thin as you would like a flour or something, but this is just about as thin as you would put on a cake maybe, between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to use a cutter that fits just the size of the cupcake, just a little bit larger so that it covers the edges, and I'm going to cut a piece. Now if you've iced the cupcakes and they've dried to the touch a little bit, you'll want to put a little bit of water on them for that fondant to stick. So I use just a little spray can or a spray bottle, lift the fondant up, and just apply it to the top. You can just smooth out the sides. Okay, and now we're going to add the little pieces that we made in the last lesson with a water brush. Just put a little bit of water and add one of the border pieces. Most of the cupcakes will take about 7 pieces. I think these would be beautiful for a wedding, not necessarily done with the gold, but whatever color the bride is having for the wedding. You could put all the wedding colors in the center of these, and I think that would just be a spectacular display. So you can see how easy it is to put a cupcake together. And then for the top, you can put a little piece. Actually, I'm just going to wet this. The fondant is very fresh. If the fondant were not fresh, I would take a little additional piece of fondant and I would wet it and I would stick it to the cupcake and then adhere the flour to that. But since the fondant is very fresh, I don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to make a little wet area and just going to carefully put that lily on there and just push it down into the fondant. Done. It's a very, very easy thing to do. So again, if you're going to do all your cupcakes ahead of time, and it may take you a couple hours to get all the cupcakes decorated and covered with fondant, and then you want to put your lilies on, do use a little ball of fondant. Just wet it, put it on the cupcake, wet it again, and then just adhere the flour to it, and then it'll stay right in place. But if you're using fresh fondant and you're working immediately, you don't have to use the little ball of fondant. I hope you've enjoyed this project. Again, the lilies were made with the Martelato cutter set and the formers, and we also used the cell formers from Cell Cakes to do the smaller lilies. The border and the cross were made with the Patchwork cutters set, and let me get the name of that for you. I have it right here. It is called the Large Cross Lace Set, and that's from Patchwork Cutters. All the products are available at globalsugarart.com. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you for watching.